The story of 20th century architecture in Latin America would not be the same without an architect born in Italy. Yes, it may sound contradictory, but she became one of the most influential voices of modernism. A woman who found in Brazil a place to create an architecture that combined tradition and modernity in a very human way. Her name is Lina Bo Bardi, and this is Architect Spotlight. Lina was born in the Italian capital of Rome in 1914, and from an early age showed a strong connection to art and architecture. That inclination would lead her to the University of Rome, where she graduated in 1939. In the years that followed, her career in Italy continued to grow as she moved to Milan, collaborating with Gio Ponti and later taking on the role of editor at the magazine Domus. In Rome, while actively involved in the Italian Communist Party, she met Pietro Maria Bardi, an art critic and historian who would later become her husband. Not long after their marriage, they left post-war Europe behind and moved to Brazil in search of new horizons. Based in Rio de Janeiro, Lina Bo Bardi found herself in a context that was very different from Europe. By the time she arrived, buildings like the Gustavo Capanema building already showed how strongly modernism was taking hold in Rio. The project was led by Lucio Costa, with contributions from Oscar Niemeyer and other Brazilian architects, while Le Corbusier worked as a lead consultant. But unlike the European landscape, the movement was taking shape in a city defined by beaches, dense vegetation, and a very different culture. In that moment, Lina began to absorb new influences, not only from architecture but also from art and Brazilian popular culture, which would remain central to her work for years to come. Lina's path in Brazil would soon take her to São Paulo, where she would design her iconic home, Casa de Vidro. Completed in 1951, the Casa de Vidro was built around the same time as Philip Johnson's glass house, which had been finished just 2 years earlier in 1949. The house stood on a sloping site surrounded by the dense vegetation of southern São Paulo. Faced with these conditions, Lina Bo Bardi chose to work with the site rather than change it. Her solution was a large concrete slab. One side rests on the ground, while the other is lifted on thin pillars, so the house lightly touches the landscape. The result is a raised structure, reached from below by a concrete and steel staircase that leads into a living space wrapped in glass. In this house, Lina brought together modernist ideas that would go on to define much of her work in Brazil, expressed through open structures and large glass windows. And shortly after the construction of the Casa de Vidro, these ideas scale up in her project for the São Paulo Museum of Art. Built in 1957, this building became one of the most iconic works of the Italian-Brazilian architect's career. Lina's vision was a reinforced concrete structure lifted on 4 corner columns with a 74-meter glass facade, a building that quickly became part of the city's identity, and for good reason. Raised 8 meters above the ground, the museum frees up the entire lower level, opening a large public space facing Paulista Avenue. Inside, she arranged freestanding glass easels, supported by concrete blocks, on which the works appeared to be suspended in space. Visitors could then move freely among them. During this stage of her life, Lina was also invited to give lectures at the School of Fine Arts of the Federal University of Bahia, in the city of Salvador. That invitation soon became an opportunity to help establish a new museum, the Museum of Modern Art of Bahia. In a smaller city, Lina came across cultural influences from before and after colonial times, which expanded her view of Brazil. For the museum, she chose the Solar do Unhão, an 18th century former sugar plantation complex by the sea. Developed between 1959 and 1963, Lina's project kept the existing structure intact, adding a geometric wooden staircase that connects the museum's floors. In 1977, Lina Bo Bardi was commissioned to design the SESC Pompéia. Once again, Lina approached the project by working with what was already there, in this case, a disused factory. The goal was to turn it into a community center, so she kept the horizontal brick structure, which was still partially intact. This existing structure became the starting point. To complete the program, Lina added 2 solid reinforced concrete towers, introducing a strong vertical contrast to the existing building. And through ascending and descending walkways, both structures were connected at various points along the facade. Completed in 1986, the community center included gyms, a swimming pool, gallery areas, theaters, and other spaces. Not far from there, Lina Bo Bardi took on another project, the Teatro Oficina. Back in 1958, a group of students rented the building to establish their theater company, which led to an early renovation by architect Joaquim Guedes. But in 1966, a fire destroyed much of the structure. This incident left the theater in a fragile state until 1981, when the building was declared a public heritage site, opening a new chapter. At this moment, Lina Bo Bardi, together with architect Edson Alito, stepped in with a new project. Their idea was simple but unconventional: a central stage that almost merged with the street, blurring the line between the sidewalk and the theater, with the audience seated on the side. From this central stage, the seating was organized in blue steel-framed galleries across 4 levels, keeping the audience close to the performance. And together with a small interior garden and a large window, Teatro Oficina moved away from a traditional layout where the stage is at the front. Beyond her architectural work, Lina Bo Bardi also dedicated her practice to furniture design. Strongly influenced by modernism, her work was deeply shaped by what she absorbed in Brazil, where materials like leather, wood, and steel appear often in her designs. Among her most well-known pieces is the chair MASP 7th April, a folding wooden frame with a canvas seat and backrest used in the auditorium of the first São Paulo Museum of Art. Another example is the Tripe de Ferro chair with a leather seat suspended on a 3-legged metal frame. But her work didn't stop at architecture and furniture. Throughout her life, Lina Bo Bardi stayed actively involved in cultural production, working across theater, film, and set design, until she died in 1992. Even so, her influence in architecture remains strong, built on a practice that moved beyond the obvious while staying open to new references. She reinterpreted modernist ideas through the influences of the country that welcomed her, using simple materials and staying close to everyday dynamics. And in doing so, a woman born in Italy found her place in the history of Brazil. With this, it's time to wrap up another episode of Architect Spotlight. Which of her projects is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. We'd also love to hear your suggestions for which architect you'd like to see in the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and visit ArchDaily.com for more stories about architecture and the people behind it. Thanks for joining us, and see you next time on Architect Spotlight.